My name is Charles Lockman. The book is called Footsteps in the Snow. You can get more information about it on Amazon.com or iTunes or in your local bookstores. And the website is footstepsinthesnowbook.com. If I was reading the Sunday Times and there was just a little box of an item about the arrest of a fellow for a crime that had been allegedly committed back in 1957. Never in American history has there been an arrest, a trial, much less a conviction for crime committed in such a distant past. I mean, just realize that the convicted felon was 18 years old at the time that he kidnapped and murdered this little 7-year-old girl back in 1957. He was in his mid-70s when he was arrested.
And you don't really think that people truly make deathbed confessions, but that's what got this case rolling.
It was 1994, decades after the kidnapping and murder of Maria Rudolph, and a elderly woman who lived in the hometown of Sycamore, Illinois, was dying of cancer. And her two of her daughters were in the hospital room caring for her when suddenly she called out, Jan, that was her daughter's name. And she grabbed her daughter Jan by the hand and said, I have to tell you something. And Jan said, what? Her mom said, John did it. John did it. John meaning her son. And instantly Jan knew that she must be talking about the kidnapping of Maria Rudolph. I don't have any doubts. This was, as you pointed out, a difficult case to not only bring to trial, but to get a conviction. And there are still mysteries here. He never made a confession. He still absolutely insists that he's innocent. But after really spending 3 years investigating this story, talking to all the people involved, looking at the evidence, I came away convinced that he did do it. But I wouldn't be surprised if the case was overturned on appeal. His own siblings turned on him. They described him as an evil monster. And I found him to be creepy, an egomaniac, a guy who thought he was always the smartest person in the room. Very frequently he was, but not all the time.
And it was said, I don't know how many times Maria Rudolph her name would be mentioned, and when he would recall those days in Sycamore, Illinois, he would get this almost beatific look on his face where he would talk about creepy all those years later, like he was remembering a lost love.
The classic behavior of a pedophile. Oh. He would go ooh and ah whenever her name was mentioned. He would describe her in terms that a boyfriend would use to describe a long-lost girlfriend. She's 7 years old. This, though, was a once-in-a-lifetime story. A lot of true crime books are written, but this is special. I just found the whole idea of a crime that had been committed 55 years in the distant past to be brought up on criminal charges today to be amazing, and how that process happened. This is not a bank robber who robbed a bank in 1957, went on with his life and became a good citizen, raised a family, and you kind of, all right, you find him 55 years later, you probably forget about it. Your life moves on. This is a vicious crime. He took the life of a 7-year-old girl. And some crimes cannot be forgiven, and I think this is one of them.